Shiloh Institute, the real spiel to our mentor, Dr. David Israel, the Hebrew University, and to the Jericho House that is housing the language studies and housing the seminary studies, to Emmanuel Church of Jesus Christ Apostolic in Toronto, and to the glorious churches of Canada that I sit as the bishop of, and to all my friends out here. Let's have a conversation about the new Neanderthal. You know, one of the interesting things is we have such a penchant for knowledge and for the claim of knowledge. And usually the individuals that claim that they know are the stupidest ones in the class. I can go down history's lane and take us to where I'm actually going, but just to give you some comparative analysis, utilizing even the Bible, and having a conversation about the Apostle John, the Gospel of John, the Epistles of John, were targeted at a very specific group of people called the Gnostics. And the word Gnostics means to have knowledge. And these individuals were aesthetic, monastic types that really felt that they understood the spiritual side of Christ better than the individuals who had walked with him. They said, you know, this Yeshua was not really a real man. He was an apparition. He was a spirit functioning as a man. He didn't really die. And all of these other things that John had to refute and refer to them as Antichrist. But these people swore that they knew. Even if you look into history, there is something called the Nag Hammadi scrolls. And these are Gnostic scrolls of their writings and of their positions that were, of course, in direct contravention to the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the opinions of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the opinions of the Nag Hammadi scrolls were very different. And so a lot of people now are looking for Gnostic material, looking for knowledge, but the knowledge is incorrect knowledge. Going further into history, we also can look into the 1600s. The 1600s is a very interesting time in world history. The 1600s is effectively, well, actually, we can go from we can change the 16th century, but we can go from 1517 and we can go all the way to the 1600s and the 1700s. That 200-year period of time is where the European, I have to be very specific, the European began to question the Roman Catholic Church. They began to be very critical. We're talking about the Dutch, Netherlands. We're talking about even the Irish and the English, the Spanish. They got the Germans. Let's talk about our friend Luther, and the French, talking about our friend Calvin. They got very critical of what was taking place in the church and what the church actually believed. And they had an awakening of thought, of ideological perspective, where these great founding fathers of the Protestant Reformation, of the Anglicanism, Anglican is a whole different thing. But they said this is not correct. Now, the interesting thing about the 1500s to the 1700s, when this great intellectual, spiritual awakening took place amongst the European, that was the exact same time as the Europeans said, let's go to Africa and enslave black people. Almost identically. Once the Europeans stopped being Catholic, they started to be capitalists, and they thought that slavery was not a bad thing. Imagine the parallel of modern day Protestant Christianity and slavery go hand in hand. In fact, you might be able to say that you might not have even had a West African Middle Passage without the Protestant Reformation, because those people were who the slavers were. In 1619, the first slaves arrive in the Americas. 1619, the 1600s, that's when the rise of the Protestant Reformation had taken place. How do you have such a spiritual awakening in one hand and a depravity of human conscience in the other at the very same time? Let's go into common days time. In common days time, we also have this great awakening of thought. And this great awakening of thought, and I can take it all the way back from the 1500s to now, we can call it the new Neanderthal movement. The new Neanderthal movement. I got to move us. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm back. I had to go to do not disturb because people just blow me up. I call it the new Neanderthal movement. The new Neanderthal movement doesn't take place in the 21st century. It doesn't take place even in the 20th century. It starts taking place in the 19th century. In the 19th century, allegedly, the most scientific period of European people, the period where you have some of your great and brilliant minds that flooded into the 20th century, the period of great anthropology. This was a period of great science where European men decided that they were going to classify the races. In fact, they created race in the 1900s. And they classified these races and said, you know what? We've come to the conclusion that us Caucasians are at the very top of the heap. And they, of course, utilizing a Darwinian mentality, because you cannot really adhere to scripture and to come up with the conclusions of these scientists of the 19th century. You can't have both. So they followed an evolutionary pathway, a Darwinism model, and said to themselves, you know what? We must have had some type of evolution that has come from primates to modern man. And they created, out of thin air, this evolutionary man. But they had a problem in the logic. They had to be a man that took them from, I have to say them because I've always been a man, but took them from ape to intelligent Homo sapien. And that missing link individual was the Neanderthal. The Neanderthal. They referred to them as the Neanderthal. He was the man that was part monkey, part man. And this new Neanderthal is around now. He's part animal and he's part man. This mythical figure still lives before us, still operates in our midst. This scientific invention and this anthropological phenomena out of the mind of the European, it actually exists. It doesn't exist in tactile reality, but it exists in functional behavior. And we have, if I dare say it, have never had a time as we are having now since potentially World War I. We have never had so many fascists, so many cultural extremists and political extremists. We've never had so many dictators in so many sections of the world run the world in such a way as it is running the world. The problem with fascism, the problem with supremacy of any type, is that it disenfranchises those individual communities from the value of the all. The value of the all. And this can be described in a very simplistic way. When you deport, mass deportations of Mexican migrants, right? What do you leave as a gap? What is the hole? What is the chasm in your environmental communities that are left? Individuals that are willing to do some of the menial jobs that other people were not willing to do at rates of pay that other people were not willing to accept. And so now what you have done is you have eliminated your labor force, your labor class. And now what you've done is you've taken the middle, I'll call them something else in a minute, but I'll refer to them as the middle class or the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie, you've taken them and you've thrust them. This is what a lot of Americans are not recognizing. You are thrusting the middle class back to a lower class called the working indigenous poor. You are forcing them to fill those roles. Now, the problem in modern society, and what the Neanderthals are not realizing, is that once you take the bourgeoisie, who was now being uplifted by the indigenous working poor, allowing them to function in the pride of their workmanship, of their middle class existence. When you thrust them back to the bottom, what you have done is you have created your revolutionary individuals, people that are relatively intelligent, that feel relatively privileged, that have been now thrust to the bottom. And what will take place is they will rise up to come after the people at the top. This is history. This is the French Revolution. This is history, my friends. This is what took place in Haiti. It's what's taken place all over the world when there's revolution. What took place in Tiananmen Square, and what took place to bring down the USSR. It happens all over the world. Because when the Neanderthal rises up and says that we are in charge, we are the boss, Neanderthals, they don't know how to create equity. They club you over the head. They drag away what they want to drag away, and they kill what they want to kill. They decide that they're at the top of the totem pole, but they don't understand that being at the top of the totem pole puts a target on their forehead, on their back, on their chest. The new Neanderthals, the Donald Trumps, the Putins, the individuals that are standing up in the West and deciding that where they stand is theirs. Zelensky's a Neanderthal too. He's a buffoon. He's a buffoon of comedic proportions. Okay, because he's fighting a war that he absolutely cannot fight over land that he absolutely does not own. He's a comedian, truly. He's trying to become part of NATO when he realizes that you might as well declare World War III to put your nation in that position. You have, of course, the greatest warmonger on the planet, our friend Benjamin Netanyahu. I talk about these people all the time. These are the new Neanderthals. Neanderthals walk around in suits when they really should just be walking around with clubs, barefoot, and doing what Neanderthals, allegedly, if they were real, were supposed to do. Pillage and destroy. Take. All right? Our new Neanderthals are assuming, though, they're assuming the positions of class and the positions of honor that they don't even belong in. Well, we can talk about that in respect to the Israeli a million times. We can beat ourselves over the head about that a million times. They are sitting down in the seats, calling themselves billionaires, calling themselves the elite, right? Calling themselves the 1%, when really, truly all they are is Neanderthals. When you have individuals like Bill Gates, a multi-billionaire, if not more, we don't know what Bill Gates, how much he actually owns now. When we look into the life of this Neanderthal, this man that sits up there and says, yeah, the world is drastically overpopulated, and what we're going to see in the future is we're going to see that there's not going to be much use for human labor, and we're going to have robots being doctors and teachers, and the human being is not going to have much use for him. When you have people that say things like that easily, right? This new Neanderthal, you have individuals who should be. What should Bill Gates doing? If I was Bill Gates, I'd be sitting around on my own private island, flying in, designer food, and having a fantastic life. He's designing vaccines that can kill massive populations. He is advocating for the cessation of certain groups of people to be able to even have children. He is practicing genocide on a magnificent scale. The Secret Genocide, and that should be a book. I got to write about that one day. The Secret Genocide of Bill Gates. He is the extension of what's her name? Margaret Sangster, the Planned Parenthood genocidal maniac who decided that she wanted to make sure that certain populations could not produce children. These are Neanderthals. These are people who have a penchant to destroy life. Yeah, he's doing the devil's work, as my brother has just said. And they are rising up, sitting down with their legs crossed, speaking in their language, articulating the destruction of the human species other than them. And they are not sitting at the gate screaming, but they are effectively orchestrating the death of all those that don't come from their pedigree. Michael Fasciano Jr. says it's all false. Well, you can advise me, brother. Michael Fasciano Jr. Bill Gates is a great advocate for the inoculation of certain populations that have created women that cannot have children anymore. These individuals, and I'm not going to become a vaccine conspiracy theorist, but the things that come out of his mouth are his own personal indictments. And when you listen to the macro messaging from men like that, you get the point of where he's going and what he's trying to do with society. You get the point. And the other day I saw, and this, I'm going to say this before I say that. Sometimes technology looks like progress, but it can actually be a warning. Now, so I said that, and I'm going to say this. So, and I'm not sure if this is true, but I saw that it apparently the tiny house movement, and there's been a movement for the tiny house models of people who are trying to live in smaller domiciles, 200-300 square feet, mobile, highly technologically savvy, green living environments. And these multi-billionaires are very, very interested in creating these things. So I saw something that's come out of the mind of Elon, this tiny house pod. And this tiny house pod, when you looked at it, it looked like, oh, that looks very cool. It's about 200 square feet. Apparently, it's got everything you need in there. Things convert from living room to bed. You've got a kitchen, dining room, 10-foot ceilings. It's mobile. You can hook it up to the back of one of those new Tesla cyber trucks and pull it all over the country. $7,000. $7,000, about $7,500 to set up this mini living mobile life. And you think to yourself, wow, that's really cool. You know, houses are they're so extreme. People can't afford a home these days. This is an option for individuals who can now purchase a home, put it on a small plot of land, even rent a small land space and live in a house, right? You're thinking, wow, this is technology. But when you really think about it, what type of society needs that, right? Yeah, the trash truck, the cyber truck that doesn't work right out of the manufacturer, it doesn't work. What type of society needs mobile mini pods, right? And I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there a little bit of a, science fiction world, but what type of society do you have to live in that requires your domicile to be 200 square feet, to be extremely mobile, to be self-contained, it works on solar power, it's got self-recycling water systems, what type of life What is the life around us need that kind of mode of living needs to be like? It's not this current civilization. It's not modern civilization. It's something else. It's something scarier. It's something much more dangerous. It's something that requires you to be able to move and to go and to pick up and to get out of here. And it's a different type of lifestyle that lives like that. And I'm trying to figure out, do the Elon Musks and all the tiny home people of the world know what's coming? That they know, hey, baby, you're not going to have any room for all this stuff that you've accumulating. Things are about to go left. And you better just pick up with the bare essentials, enough place for you to sleep and eat and move. Because life's about to change in a way that you've never realized before. So like I said, sometimes what technology is technology is warning you of what's coming in the future. A controlled society and a dangerous society that you might have mass anarchy, because this is where people are going. You see it in small microcosms. Let the gas prices in the US go up to, $9, $10 a gallon. Let that happen. See what happens. $15, $20 a gallon. See what happens. Just that little move, that little tick. See what happens. Right? Let there be a small shortage of something. You see right now, people they're running through Target, they'll run through Walmart, they'll loot for almost no reason whatsoever. But let there be a hint of a real crisis and see how people start to behave down there. Right? See what takes place when they say, yeah, we're going to take all your guns away. Oh, yeah? Not taking our guns away. Not in America. Canadians will roll over for anything over here. Those guys are jokers. They let the government do anything. They're extremely trusting of government over here. So the new Neanderthal is positioning himself, arming himself, fortifying himself to make sure that they will always be in a position of power, always be in a position of strength. The new Neanderthal also is not stupid. He doesn't just use weapons to arm himself. He uses ideology. He uses religion. Paula White, what is she called? The ambassador, the faith ambassador of the White House. Paula White. Paula White yesterday was on her social media warning people or advising people that the Holy Week was coming, and that for a $1,000 offering, God was going to release 7 blessings in their direction. You cannot have a real control of people without having religion. This is what the atheists don't understand. You can control people much easier with religion than you can with a gun. Good religion and bad religion. You can control people much easier with religion than you can with a gun. And ideology has to be part of your mind control. You have to also control people with pacifying them. Pacification. I want to write another book called The Pacification of the Negro. And in the last, I'll say 50 years, that the Negro has been pacified very well. The big ones, we let them play basketball. The talent ones, we let them sing, or we let them rap, or we let them dance. The fast ones, we give them a little scholarship and sponsor them, put them in positions. But what we will not do is we will not allow them to mobilize themselves to be self-governing. We'll even make one of them a president for a little while. Go ahead. You can be a president. You want to be a president for 4 years now? Fine, we'll give you 8. But after that, we're done with that situation. Kamala was sunk from the beginning. Kamala, you need another 100 years before you can actually be. And Kamala, just to not be off topic, nothing Kamala said was wrong. Nothing Kamala said about Donald Trump was wrong. Right? Kamala is wrong for a lot of things, but nothing that she said about Donald Trump, she was very correct, as we can see. But people didn't care. because people were not interested in a black woman who married a white man who, the allegation, which is not actually true, um, was in a position to be a lawyer who marginalized even more so black males. This was the allegation. It's not actually true. Um, a woman who effectively was disenfranchised by her black father, and she disenfranchised herself from her black father. In a lot of ways, Kamala was distasteful in the mouths of all black people, predominantly black men. Um, However, we didn't go out and vote for Trump as people said we did either. So Kamala had a lot of things that a lot of brothers did not like. A lot of women didn't like too. Right? Of course, the Democratic stance of an abortion, it's just you can't just no sensible person who realizes that abortion is targeted at the black community more than it's targeted at any other community could sit there and advocate for abortion in America and say that, oh, it's women controlling their bodies. No, it's population control in the black community. Because every woman in every ethnicity in every community, if you get pregnant out of season, you're going to say, oh my gosh, am I going to keep this baby? What am I going to do? But if you have 25 million people screaming in her ear saying, hey, baby, abort the baby, abort the baby. It's right here. It's very easy to do. We'll take care of it. We won't tell anybody. It's going to go away very quickly. You're going to have a reckless scenario of advisors advising a group of women to say, hey, it's okay. Get rid of that baby. And especially if the child is being had by individuals who the Neanderthals have created another false narrative about, the black man, and said that this individual is not responsible, he doesn't make enough money, he's not going to be a good father, he's an absentee father, and therefore might not want to bring up a child in that environment. Get rid of the body, get rid of the baby, get rid of the baby, get rid of the body, get rid of the baby. So Kamala represented too many negative things, to the point that Donald Trump, and people have heard Donald Trump say Donald Trump is a man sent by God. You've got to do a lot wrong. You've got to do a lot wrong, right? You got to do a lot of things wrong for your platform to elevate Donald Trump's platform to deity level. Let me see what y'all saying. People will lose their minds. Look back at 2020. With our region. So I want to be clear, and I want to close too, that we are not dealing with a normal behavior in what is being presented by these individuals that are now running the world. This is a warning. This is a shot across the bow. Mussolini is back. Okay, Stalin is back. King Leopold is back. Okay, we've got some very dangerous things happening. Let's also economically, when you see the economies of the world shifting into weird scenarios. Trivia question: what is the most valuable currency in the earth right now? Is it the US dollar? Nope. Is it the British pound? Close. Nope. Is it the euro? Nope. What is it? What is the dollar? What is the currency that's most valuable? Kuwaiti dollars. What? The Kuwaiti dollar is the most valuable currency in the world today. What the heck is going on? How did that happen? When did that take place? You guys are on there. Yeah, go take a look. Why has there been a shifting in currency values to the Kuwaiti dollar? What is taking place? What is happening? Can I put out my 2 cents? As I close. In a worldwide crisis, the number one thing is energy. It's not weapons. It's energy. Energy is king when you have a worldwide crisis. The maintaining of your livelihood, keeping the lights on, the power on, the tanks operating, the milk trucks operating, the garbage trucks, keeping things running. Energy is king. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going dark. Is my phone going dead? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, what's going on here? I'm going dark, baby. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to be aware when things are shifting, when things are changing, and there is a change that's happening. The Neanderthal, keep your eye on that sucker. Listen to what's coming out of his mouth. Listen to what the things he's creating. Because the Neanderthal only has one purpose and one mentality. Put themselves at the top. Why they ideologically, economically, militarily place everyone else at the bottom. Don't let it happen. This is Del K. Brereton, and this is The Real Spiel. We'll talk to everybody soon. Bye-bye.